Today I'm speaking to Nik Halik. Nik is an entrepreneur, extreme adventurer, fair to say probably a little bit mad, an author of the New York Times bestseller, The 5-Day Weekend, whereby he destroys the 5-day work week paradigm and basically claims that he can show you how you can add an extra 3 days to your weekend. Welcome to the podcast today, Nik.
Hey Zoe, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Insanity is a good thing, and I'll tell you right now.
Vanity.
Insanity.
Insanity. I thought you said vanity.
No, I said insanity. So look, if you're not being told you're insane or crazy on a daily basis, then you're way too mainstream in your thinking.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying it as a compliment, by the way. It wasn't an insult. It's definitely a compliment. Crazy in a really good way.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of just going out there and being a contrarian, but all about experiential living. I mean, the most important thing in life, if you look at life, for example, this is your life, and everything in the orbit of your life is your businesses and what have you, your different brands. But first and foremost, everything must revolve around your life.
A bit about your life at the moment. It's been a while since we spoke, Nik.
Absolutely, definitely.
What have you been concentrating on in recent months? There's always something exciting going on in your life.
One of the biggest rules in life is always have something each month to look forward to. And I find that way. It's like I believe life is a meritocracy. The Greek word meritokratia basically means life rewards your drive and your ambition kind of thing. So every month, by having something to look forward to, it's usually an adventure or some form of exploration, for example. So in next week, I'm going to be doing a zip line across a lava lake in a volcano.
Oh my God.
In fact, I was there in November and basically proved the proof of concept. And I was the very first person to do a zip line across a lava lake. So imagine it's like a lava lake is 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, about 938 degrees Celsius. And I did a zip line across the lava lake. Liquid molten rock. Absolutely epic. So that's coming up next week. And then in March, I've got this incredible cave that's been newly discovered in Vietnam. It's probably the closest thing to Avatar. It is so vast, it has its own rainforest and ecosystem and climate inside this particular cave. And it's like, you're expecting to see like a big dinosaur just walk through kind of thing. But that's in March. And then April and May, I'm going to be in the Himalayas, basically supporting my friend's expedition. And he's going to do a wingsuit jump off the summit of Everest. Those wingsuits, people basically, there's a switch atop a wingsuit, and he's going to jump on the summit and then land at the base camp. Because he was there to support my expedition in Everest. And in 2010, I did a halo jump. I was like 5,000 feet above Everest, and I did my halo jump. So this time around, I'm going to reciprocate, and he's going to be standing on the summit, and he's going to jump with a wingsuit.
Wow. Sounds like you've got a few things to look forward to over the next few months, for sure. Yes. The expeditions that you're going on, the volcano, because I've been looking at them and I've been following them on Facebook, they're actually organised kind of group expeditions. So you're doing it as a group. You've organised it and you're bringing people on board to experience it.
Like-minded friends, adventurers, explorers. So the good thing is, during these type of expeditions, people can also mastermind and ask me questions about business, branding, entrepreneurial endeavors and investing, and knowing how to deploy and weaponize and monetize your cash flow, whatever kind of thing. So it gives individuals an opportunity to not only explore and be part of an amazing, insane adventure, but to also sharpen their entrepreneurial axe at the same time.
Yeah, so, definitely. These experiences, as you know, I climbed Kilimanjaro a couple of years ago, and it makes a huge difference who you go on these kind of expeditions or these experiences with. Thankfully, when I climbed Kili, we had a really good group with us. So I can imagine that you know some pretty interesting people, and you've got some exciting individuals lined up to go on these expeditions with you, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and look, and I tell everybody, like, and it's, you know, it's experiential living. It's like, I mean, you know, everything must revolve around your life first and foremost, and you know, never over obligate yourself to the rest of the world because you fail to appease yourself. So, you know, there are certain things in life that are not negotiable. You must have fun, more freedom, more fulfillment, and more quality time with your family and your friends. Everything else, you know, is secondary to that. But you know, and I think that's what, you know, really encapsulates. That's what I do. I mean, I'm a 5-day weekend lifestyle strategist. I mean, I live a 5-day weekend lifestyle. I mean, it's, you know, knowing how to add 3 more days to your weekend, more excitement, more colour to the palette and the tapestry of life. You know, the mosaic of offerings, and having more of a kaleidoscopic vision in relation to your quest and what you want to accomplish in life, and, you know, bridging the gap from where you are to where you really want to be, I guess, kind of thing. You know, so.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds exciting. Okay, tell us a little bit about your book, Nick, about the 5-day weekend. It's you wrote that about 2 years, a year and a half ago now, is it?
But yeah, probably about 15 months ago, and it's centered around 4 particular things. Like it's knowing how to keep more money. In other words, you know, keeping more money, making more money, growing your money, and really just, you know, living your life out loud on your terms and your conditions, kind of thing. And really, that's the book, the 5-day weekend. It's all about adding 3 more days to your weekend, because in the Western world, we love our weekends, and you know, most individuals love their Fridays. In fact, most individuals are ecstatic on a Friday. Why? Because it's the end of the week. You know, and when you really think about it, I mean, you know, they're working Monday to Friday, they get paroled for the weekend. You know, Friday night, they go out there, they drink, they party, they have fun. Saturday, they're going to wake up around 11 o'clock or around midday. After being out the previous night. Sunday, they're depressed because they just think they're going to work the next day on a Monday. And Monday, most people are suicidal because it's the start of the week. In fact, suicide rates are the highest on a Monday. When you examine every day of the week, suicide rates are the highest on a Monday. And the highest consumer spending is on a Friday. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah, you're very good with all your facts. Like, you know, like facts about everything.
You know, it's like, I mean, the highest consumer sentiment is on a Friday, and the most depressing, the most suicidal day is a Monday. And here's the thing with a 5-day weekend: I don't disqualify. I mean, you know, a public holiday, a weekday, and a weekend, I treat them all. You know, that's completely neutral. I mean, I don't live my life by days. I live my life by dates.
Okay, how realistic is this 5-day weekend really, though? Because I know that sometimes you are super busy, and
I'm never busy. I'm always optimized. Big difference between being busy and being optimized. Busy people don't make money because they're too busy being busy to make money. But
what's the difference between busy and optimized?
I mean, what I do I optimize my life. In other words, I outsource many of the obligations in my life. I mean, I have assistants, I have virtual assistants, whatever too. So I focus on the bigger brands, the bigger money, for example, the big ideas, you know, and I outsource everything else to my assistants because I believe, you know, you need to be able to like aerate and ventilate and be creative and be, you know, somewhat innovative in your thinking, whatever too. So living a 5-day weekend, I optimize my thinking. There's a hierarchy, there's a pecking order in relation to the tasks that I undertake on a daily basis. I mean, look, when I say the 5-day weekend, I'm not saying, you know, Monday to Friday is just passive and just holiday kind of thing. I mean, you know, I'm very, very specific. Like I don't discriminate. I don't discriminate between a weekday, a public holiday, or a weekend. Every day is the same. And it's an interesting thing. If you look at the book, the 5-day weekend, there's a reason why weekend is in red. Because when I grew up, it was old school calendars. We didn't have like cell phones or what have you. Old school calendars, the weekends were in what? Red. You know those calendars your parents had on the fridge, for example? The weekends were always red and the weekdays were always what? Black.
Yeah.
So for me, is if you live your life by the actual days of the week, it's going to shift the emotions or how you basically approach each particular day. But for me, I don't live my life by days. I live my life by the dates. So, for example, if I'm going to be, I'm going to be in Nicaragua, Central America, at a particular volcano Maseo, right? I'm going to be there between the 7th and the 13th. I have no idea what days that's going to be.
Even you just know the dates, no idea what days. Okay. So
I don't live my life as to which particular day it is, because most individuals work Monday to Friday. They take the foot off the gas pedal on the weekends or the public holidays, and then they put them back on the gas pedal come Monday when they're back at work. See, for me, every day is a day of opportunity. Every day is a day where you can reward yourself. And, once again, that experiential living, that experiential element that best brings, which allows you to excavate your life's purpose.
For someone that would like to subscribe, or if there's any listeners who are very attracted to the concept of a 5-day weekend, but they're working like a 9-to-5 job, they don't have any investments or any passive streams of income, where would you suggest that they start as a starting point?
Definitely. First up is this. If you're sleeping 8 hours, start sleeping 7 hours. Save 1 hour every day. That's 365 hours you're going to save from sleeping 1 hour less every day. That's 365 hours now that you can commit towards an entrepreneurial pursuit in parallel. And the idea about that is you want to employ something called a Kaizen principle, which is take your income right now and then add 5% to that each month. But by having 1 hour free every day, you can basically pour that particular hour into generating additional income, for example. Okay? So the idea is, if this is your employee income, then that extra hour every day starts to basically accumulate that collective income over here. Then you start to reduce the number of hours. And the most important thing there is obviously, as you're generating additional incomes, then I would say the first $10,000 or $15,000 that you may have, instead of investing it or speculating with that money, find a good coach or mentor. Always the first $10,000 or $15,000 you have, find a good coach or mentor, because they're going to, somebody who has a result.
So someone's got $15,000 to invest and they're thinking, okay, should I invest it into an entrepreneurial venture where I can, maybe.
Find a coach or a mentor, somebody who's going to hold you accountable, so long as you're coachable and teachable, and so long as your mentor has achieved what you desire in life, and they're going to hold you to the feet. Most important thing is this: you need to emotionalize the experience, you need to socialize it, but you also need to be held accountable. And and here's a couple of things. We are the result of every decision we make in our lives. We are the result of every decision. Okay, we are the result of every decision we make in our lives, and our very best thinking has got us exactly where we are today. And without a wealth mentor, look, growing up, I never had a mentor, and the amount of times that I've been thrown off course, and I call these financial cul-de-sacs, where basically they're just dead ends, and then you've got to basically dig yourself out of it. And for some people, like digging themselves out of credit card debt or personal loan debt, basically being in a relationship where really.
How does someone go about finding a good mentor? There's just so many fake gurus out there.
The last thing the world needs is probably another NLP coach or another wealth coach. Go out there, just start, do your own due diligence. If somebody's message really resonates with you, then do your due diligence on that particular person and then reach out to that particular individual. And here's the thing, like when it comes to coaching and mentoring, I take on about 25 students on a yearly basis. And what I'm doing, I'm sort of gradually phasing myself out, and just to focus on my existing students. But most important thing is set the parameters. what you want to do is you want to make sure that you find somebody who has a particular message that resonates strongly with you, where there's no ego, there's no, unfortunately, most individuals on social media, on Instagram and all that kind of thing, they're a Hollywood set. They have everything in the world, but truly they don't.
Those have resonated with you over the years.
I had somebody who influenced me, when I first came to the United States, I met a gentleman by the name of Bob Proctor. And Bob Proctor, basically, he was all about. To me, Bob Proctor was probably one of the first and foremost mentors that I looked up to, and I went to all his events, and he took me under his wing as a young kid. But in relation to, he was more like he was there for my mindset, for example, just really getting this, which is obviously the number one asset in the world kind of thing. But when it came to wealth and what have you, I never really had a wealth coach or anything like that kind of thing. But what I provide, for example, is I help people with their mindsets, the psychology, but also, how to generate additional cash flow, and then knowing how to deploy that cash flow to generate more growth on their monies. And where I sort of come into it is I teach people how to live a life, and what we need to understand that in life, you never get what you want or what you deserve. You'll only get what you negotiate. And how badly do you want it, for example? The two most important days in your life, the day you're born and the day you discover why you're born. What's your purpose? What brings a tear to your eyes? What brings a smile to your face kind of thing? Where's that drive? What do you want to accomplish in life? What's your body of work going to be? How are you going to scale up your life, for example? You want to be like a pivotal influence and add value by factoring other people's lives and adding value to the business, whatever, For me, that's what I do. I haven't had I've had many failures, and I wouldn't change anything. And I am so fortunate that I've had multiple failures in my life. Absolutely. And I love the gauntlet of challenges and hurdles and obstacles because I know that every failure that I've experienced in my life was a tattoo. It wasn't a tattoo, it was just a bruise.
Has there been any specific kind of moments or failures or rock bottom moments that you've experienced and learned from that you'd like to share with us today?
A lot of it's just being overly reliant on certain individuals, For example, if you're an employee and you lose your job and that was your single source of income, well, you were overly reliant on your employer, for example. And if you're an employee and you listen to this particular podcast right now, you're working hard enough for work so you don't get sacked and your employer's going to pay you just enough so you don't quit. Where's the logic? And here's the thing, you can't be a racehorse all your life. Eventually you have to go to stud. And there's more money going to stud, which means you have the liberty of thinking, you're more creative. You've got multiple assets that are basically generating cash flow and revenue, passive income that allows you to go out there and then live your life on your terms and your terms and your conditions, what have you. But once again, too, failures, they're just bruises. It's not a tattoo. You're not permanently tainted in your life. They're just bruises. And with each bruise, you learn what to do and what not to do. And I encourage you to go out there and get bruised up a lot more, and you're going to develop thicker skin as well.
Experience some pretty epic adventures in your life. One, you're a qualified astronaut. Yeah. You've had lunch, huh?
Yep, I've had lunch in the shipwrecked Titanic.
You had lunch in the shipwrecked Titanic, and you've done loads more of the exciting stuff. And what would you say was the most memorable adventure or moment that you've had?
Well, zip lining across a lava lake to having lunch on a shipwreck of the Titanic, from rocketing to the edge of space in suborbit, to jumping off Mount Everest and doing a halo jump. I would say sleeping inside of a sarcophagus in the King's Chamber in the Cheops Pyramid in Giza, Egypt, in Cairo. I slept in a sarcophagus, a 5,000-year-old sarcophagus, and I negotiated with the government to allow me to sleep in a sarcophagus. I was locked up inside the pyramid. It was just me.
Slept in someone's coffin. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that was your most exciting.
Well,
I think this definitely certifies you as crazy.
Well, the mummy was removed from the museum, so I slept in the sarcophagus. I negotiated with the Egyptian government to lock me up inside the pyramid. It's just me in the pyramid, and I asked for lights out. So the oldest man-made structure in the world was my private residence for the night. I was escorted in around 11:30 p.m. and they came and got me out about 7:30 in the morning.
Okay.
All because I was reading a book by Dr. Paul Brunton. He was this British philosopher and mystic. And he wrote about his experience about, in fact, Dr. Paul Brunton slept in the same sarcophagus in 1930. His book came out in 1932. And I was the very first person since Dr. Paul Brunton to sleep in a sarcophagus. Intrigued about this particular sarcophagus because in 1798, Napoleon Bonaparte slept in the same sarcophagus. And you can read about this. So Napoleon Bonaparte, when they invaded Egypt and basically Egypt became his playground, he slept in a sarcophagus, and one of his lieutenants came and woke him up the following morning after his night in the sarcophagus. And basically his military attaché found him shivering and scared and timid and frightened in the corner of the king's chamber. This is Napoleon Bonaparte, shivering, timid and frightened.
Okay.
Sleeping in a sarcophagus. And Dr. Paul Brunton was absolutely somewhat bedazzled about that particular experience of Napoleon Bonaparte, and he slept in it. And I was reading Dr. Paul Brunton's book about his experience, and I said, fuck it, I'm going to do it too. And then I rocked up in Cairo, Egypt, right? Having no idea who was going to pull this up, but I knew, I'm a very, very stubborn person. I know in life I'll always get what I want because I'm happy to pay the price, whether it's pain or paying for the experience, but I'm very, very stubborn, and I'm very, I'm able to pivot, and I know how to exhibit behavioral flexibility to change my pitch and my direction, for example, and that's a really important thing about life in general. If one door shuts, how are you going to exhibit behavioral flexibility to open up another door, for example? How to create opportunities. And it took me 3 weeks to get permission to do exactly what Dr. Paul Brunton had done back in 1930. And this is me in 2007. Like 77 years later, after Dr. Paul Brunton did it, I was the very first person since Dr. Paul Brunton. And it took 77 years for another foreigner to do so, and that was me. Nobody out there apart from myself and Dr. Paul Brunton can claim they spent the night alone in the sarcophagus all night. The pyramid was on the lockdown just for you, and with all lights out. Wow. 2 people in the last, 90 years have done that. That's Dr. Paul Brunton and myself. But here's the thing. I just love challenges. I love the gauntlet of hurdles and obstacles. And I just, and I think I was telling you before our call started, I'm working on diving down to the Britannic, which is the sister ship of the Titanic. What people don't realize was the Titanic sank in 1912 in an iceberg in the North Atlantic Ocean. But there were 2 sisters that were being built in the same shipyard in Belfast in Ireland, and in Northern Ireland. The Titanic and the Britannic. Anyway, the Britannic sank 3 years to the date after the Titanic.
3 years to the date?
Literally. So both sisters were doomed. Yeah. In fact, there were 3 ships, the Titanic, the Britannic, and the Olympic, with all the same specs. And the Olympic basically collided with another ship. So all 3 sisters were doomed. 2 sank, the third one collided.
If all these ships had the same spec, then it must have been something in the workmanship, in the manufacture.
It was just random experiences. The Titanic hit an iceberg.
Well, I know that, but it's too much of a coincidence that they all had the same spec.
They all hit something.
They were made in the same yard, and they all experienced like crazy accidents.
It's because the Titanic hit an iceberg. The Britannic was hit by a German torpedo, by a German U-boat in 1915, and it had British troops, Australian and Kiwi troops. They were coming back from the Dardanelles from the Gallipoli campaign. And the Olympic was hit by a Swedish frigate.
Okay, all right then. Okay, I've got you. So I don't think any ship could have survived any of those.
Yeah, but just the experience. But
crazy coincidence.
The Titanic lies in one piece in 500 feet of water in the Mediterranean, in the Aegean, in the Greek waters, and she lies on her starboard side. And I just got permission. It's been granted by there's a British guy who owns the Britannic, who owns the shipwreck. The British Commonwealth in 1996 auctioned off the rights to the ship, who was basically, I think it was just a camera guy at the BBC. I won't mention his name, but he's the guy who bought the wreck of the British government.
Okay, so he bought the wreck, and now he organises trips down there.
There's no trips down there. You can't dive down there. There's only been 2 dives. 1978, Jacques Cousteau discovered the wreck of the Britannic. In 1989, there was an expedition, and then in 2009, there was another expedition. So I'm going to be mounting the third expedition to the Britannic, because you can't go down there. It's not like a tourist thing you can do. I mean, because of the logistics involved and because of the actual, the depth of the water and what have you. But so this British guy who bought the wreck, he paid £15,000. Imagine this, the Britannic, multi-million-dollar back in the day, right? He buys to the ship for £15,000.
Yeah.
I've already approached him a number of times. I go, dude, let me buy it off you. Name your price. I want it.
And he won't sell it?
No. I've had lunch on the shipwrecked Titanic, okay? So my objective now is to have lunch on the Britannic, to have lunch on both sisters. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that sounds like it's going to be an incredible experience for you. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a very difficult expedition to pull logistically wise kind of thing. And obviously, I want to document it because I've got I live here in Hollywood Hills in Los Angeles, and I've got a film production company, and we shoot documentaries. So the whole Britannic dive will be documented for a television documentary kind of thing. So first of all, I grew up on history. I love geography. I love history. And it's a very historical ship. Well, people don't realize that after the Titanic sank, and at the time the Titanic was the most opulent passenger ship in the world. And then when the Titanic sank, the Britannic became the #1 cruise liner in the world. And then with the outbreak of the First World War, the British government needed every ship at its disposal. So the Britannic was recommissioned as a hospital ship. So it went from like a luxury cruise liner to becoming a hospital ship. It's a beautiful history to it,
I have to say, history was not my favourite subject at school. In fact, I spent my history lessons with my friend just laughing, and we were always getting thrown out of our history lessons. My friend used to do this crazy thing with her eyes. She used to put her eyelid, it's always during our history lesson, and just used to have me in. I just never listened. But that was a really interesting lesson. I actually stayed awake during that, whereas when I had my history lessons at school, I would definitely.
Well, I think it's also.
I wasn't giggling.
I mean, like at school, I think teachers need to be like re-educated, because there are different ways of for a student to assimilate knowledge, for example, whether it's an auditory experience, a visual, or a very kinesthetic type experience, for example, And I think teachers have one particular style, and I don't know how to pivot to immerse themselves in different. There's no such thing as ADD, for example. It's just basically teachers an ability to be able to communicate to a child. So many scams out there. For example, even if you want to look at aging, you want to look at aging. Aging is a disease. ADD, there's so many. there's so many justifications. I mean, it's like, I just feel there's, if we all take the red pill, stop taking the other Kool-Aid that the media provides to us, and really see how deep the rabbit hole goes. I mean, you're going to start to awaken from 20 or 30 or 40 years slumber, for example, and your life will never be the same kind of thing. And what I do with the 5-day weekend, here's the thing. Before the 5-day weekend, this book, we would all have a 5-day work week. And prior to the 5-day work week, about 100 years ago, the 6-day work week was compulsory. Did you know that? The 6-day work week. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So basically, individuals were working 6 days a week. So it was a 48-hour work week. And then they realized, hold on here, if we only give the worker 1 day off, they're not going to spend the money they just made working the last 6 days. So how do you create an economy? How do you lubricate the economy of your respective government? By giving the worker more leisure time. So it went from 6 days to 5 days. And the individual who engineered the 5-day work week from the 6-day work week was Henry Ford, because he realized by giving the worker more leisure time, they're going to spend their money, giving them justification to go back to work another 5 days to make more money.
So it keeps them a slave.
Giving the worker more leisure time, you're going to give them a reason, a justification to want to own an automotive. And what did Henry Ford do? He produced automotives, cars. See the agenda?
Yeah.
See, and here's the thing. That was around the birth of the Industrial Revolution and what have you too. But prior to the 6-day work week, I mean, 150 years ago, there was no such thing as a job. The whole phenomenon of a job, of a job, is really only about 120 years old. But 150 years ago, our great-grandparents weren't employees, they were entrepreneurs. They were out there doing it. They were working for themselves. They weren't reliant on the government or the system. But I find out with humanity, this tyranny of impoverished thinking over here, the law of diminishing intent, with the whole society is basically, they've got one single source of income as an employee. They're overly reliant on the government. It's called financial diabetes. They shot a government insulin, which is basically welfare and the pension over here. And where everybody's been conditioned to work Monday to Friday, you get put off for the weekend. You're counting down the days until your weekend. You're counting down the months until your next vacation, and you're counting down the years until you retire.
Just hear my granddad say to me now, as you were saying that, my granddad worked for himself. He was in his day. He was an entrepreneur, and he always worked for himself. And he was a Yorkshire man, and he always used to say, "There's no like working for yourself."
Yeah.
That's always what he used to say. There's now like working for yourself. He would never, ever. In fact, when he retired, he was that used to working. When he retired, he actually took a job. He was in business all his life, very successful. But then when he retired, he just wanted, he couldn't cope. He built a house for my grandma to live in. Towards the end of his working career, he had a guest house and he'd lived there. Then he sold that and he moved into the house with my nana, and he was so bored. He took a job as a taxi driver. He lasted about 2 months. I remember him saying, I can't work for anyone else. I can't have anyone telling me what to do, I
think a lot of this also it's just, I think it's also like a, self-esteem and your belief system, but that's the reality. 150 years ago, there was no such thing as a JIB or a job. And even thousands of years, look, even 3,000, 4,000 years ago, people were entrepreneurs. Back then, it was called being a merchant.
Mm.
If your respective city, there wasn't much employment, you'll get on a boat or on a ship and go and trade and barter in the next port. But what happened? And unfortunately, there's this, of course, society has become brainwashed, and even like today, it's 2020. There's dumbification of the human populace, and I believe social media and reality television. There's some great opportunity with social media now and the internet, but I believe at the same time that there's dumbification of the human race. Civilization, we're becoming far more dumber.
Oh, oh, okay, I get you. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said there. What would you like people to say about you when you're no longer here? What would you like your legacy to be?
Well, first of all, I plan to be around for a very, very long time. I'm now in the second third of my life before my expiry date. But for me, I just want to add value to individuals. You know, it's like, I mean, it's more like just, you know, if anyone's going to reflect who I am, it's like, well, you know, I want to add value to as many people's lives as possible, kind of thing. Obviously, you know, look, I haven't added. Look, I've had many, many challenges in my life, and I wouldn't change one bit, you know. And there's so much more that I've yet to accomplish. I mean, I've been to 157 countries, but there were so many more experiences that I've yet to have. But obviously, it all comes down to your legacy. And once you've had a legacy, well, how can you shape other people's lives? How can you add value to what they're doing? You know, whether it's helping people build a business or a brand, or helping them like get out of a rut, or getting out of like a bad financial debt cycle, for example. You know, but you know, I'm that lighthouse. I want to illuminate. I want to be that beam of light to illuminate a path for someone to adhere to. You know, provide an illuminated path where they can learn from their lessons, then they can sort of pass on the love and the inspiration kind of thing. But it all comes down to 5 Fs: more fun, more freedom, more fulfillment, and more quality time with your family and your friends. And everything else is simply irrelevant, isn't it?
Okay. What experiences await you?
Wow. You know what? Here's the thing. Every day is an experience. I mean, I'm learning something new every day kind of thing, you know. But I love exploration. I love, there's so much there in exploration that I just love. I love adventure. I love the outdoors. I love hiking. I love climbing. I love the mountains. I love the solitude of the deserts and the summits and whatever too. I love the ocean, you know. I mean, I treat each day as if it's my very last day, you know. I think if you were to put an expiry date on your life and approach it that particular way, you're going to accomplish more. You know, so once again, it's the mosaic, it's that kaleidoscope kind of thing. You're going to make life count. And you know, look, you know, a desert becomes a forest. A desert becomes a rainforest with the right gardener. And who's the best person to cultivate the soil, to enrich it, and to hydrate it? It's you, you know. But everything, I mean, never be overly reliant on anybody but yourself. That's the most important thing, you know. But go out there and never take life for granted. That's probably the most important thing. And you know, I think it's like if you've got parents, tell your parents every day, you know, that you love them. Give them a hug. And if there's an opportunity, for example, like, I mean, for example, like my mother's 86. She's got an iPhone 10, and she's on WhatsApp, and she harasses me every day.
I was going to say she's still harassing you.
I love
but you love it. You love being harassed by your mom.
I'm the youngest born kind of thing, you know. But that's, you know, because, you know, she lives 15,000 miles away kind of thing. That's how we communicate every day. You know, and I feel like I see her every day. You know, just it takes a phone call. It just takes an effort, you know. But it also comes down to, like, you know, prioritizing things in life. You know, I mean, you know, and you know, being rich isn't simply just the physical side. It's being spiritually and being emotionally rich and being physically rich too, you know. But it all comes down to the experiences and, you know, whose life are you going to shape today? Whose life are you going to add value to today? Make it a goal. Make it part of a ritual on a daily basis kind of thing, you know. But it's exciting. That's what I love about life. Life is unpredictable, but you can manipulate it. But when I say manipulating it, it means you're able to have control over it. Because in life, there's only 2 things in life that I can't control, and that's weather and traffic. But I can warp time to my advantage. You can warp time. And there's ways how to warp time to your advantage.
Okay. I was just thinking then about the weather, and I was just thinking the UAE government do, you know, you've heard of cloud seeding, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're going crazy with the cloud seeding over here. So they are kind of controlling the weather and manipulating all the rainfall. And It's funny, that analogy you gave about the desert becoming a rainforest. Our deserts are actually growing loads of greenery because of the manipulation with the clouds. So basically, for people who don't know, cloud seeding is basically you put something in the clouds which encourages rainfall. And I lived in the UAE for 3 years and I hadn't seen one drop of rain over the last few years since cloud seeding has started. Like literally, I've seen more rain. I thought I'd written my car off the other day because I drove it through some water. Like the floods were absolutely crazy. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, an absolute pleasure to and thank you for taking the time out. And and I think for anybody who who's seeking,
I haven't finished yet.
No, just.
I'm supposed to wrap it up, not you.
No, I'm not wrapping it up. I'm just like basically providing some.
I've got more questions. Does that mean it's time for you to go? You got to get on to your next call.
Hey, you're going to edit this, right?
No, it's going out. Just going out raw and ready.
Going out raw.
Yeah. Okay, let me just ask, I know you've got to go. We've had 47 minutes and you did give me, you said I had 40 minutes of your time. I'm only joking with you there. But I would like.
Right?
I'm going to edit the what?
You're going to edit that last section, right?
No. One last question I'd like to ask you, Nick. What are you grateful for?
Grateful for being alive and breathing and enjoying life. And grateful for adding value to other people's efforts in life. Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
If my life was to expire prematurely, I'll be one pissed off poltergeist.
But just make sure that harness, when you do that zip line over the volcano, is fastened on tightly. Because we don't want you. We don't want you departing before you should. That's for sure.
Oh, that ain't gonna happen. I'm gonna be around for a very long time.
Nick, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today. And